Today on Ballistic Barbecue, I'm going to be making the Coney dog with cheese and a Coney dog without cheese from Skyline chili out of Cincinnati, Ohio. Let's get going. Skyline chili first opened October 10th, 1949 by a Greek immigrant by the name of Nicholas Lambrinidis. At the time, Nicholas was 60 years old. So that's a feat in itself, starting a business at 60, but it's been in the family ever since. Family's still part of this business. It's now expanded. It's a franchise, and I think there's over 160 locations now, so that's pretty amazing. The thing that makes this place an icon, especially in Cincinnati, is their chili. It's a Greek chili. They call it, Cincinnati chili, but really its roots are deeply embedded in the Greek culture. Like so many of these hot dogs I've just discovered, the amazing impact that the Greek immigrants have had on American culture. So thank you guys. I've said it before, but it just amazes me. But anyway, Nicholas took his own spin on a family recipe for their Greek chili, opened up a chili house in 1949, and it just kind of snowballed from there. There were hard times, but they're flourishing now, so it's awesome. And we're going to start off by making that chili. Now, first things first, I want to give credit where credit's due. The first thing I did was went online and to see if you could buy this chili online, which you can. I ordered two of these pouches of the chili, and then I went online to see if there were any videos that could help. A lot of times I'll find like a Triple D, for example, where they're actually in the kitchen making this. This was a challenge, but I did find a channel. It's Elite Recipe Source on YouTube. This guy hasn't been very active in the last few years, 3 years, but I'm hoping maybe if you guys check his channel out, start giving him some subscriptions, maybe he'll start making videos again. He really took a deep dive and he saved me a lot of legwork. Basically what I do on a recipe like this is I get the chili or whatever I'm going to copycat, and I'll pour it in a bowl, heat it up, and then start just tasting and smelling. Then I'll have a pot and I'll start adding ingredients to come as close as I can to the actual recipe. Watching this guy, he was doing exactly what I do. So I felt pretty comfortable, and he even admitted basically what he's giving us is a base recipe, and after about 2 hours of simmering, he suggests doing some tweaks, increasing the ingredients as needed, things like that, which is exactly what I did. I made his base recipe, and then I actually discovered some ingredients I think he missed. And so between the two of us, I think we came out with about as close as any recipe is going to get to Skyline's chili. There are other videos on there, but they're not. They're just sort of making Cincinnati chili and calling it Skylines. Anyway, let's kick this off. So what I have here is 1 pound of ground 80/20 chuck, and I bought the pre-ground, hamburger meat, the 80/20 chuck, and then I ran it through my grinder on the very small die. It's important to get this as fine as possible because we don't want big chunks of meat. We want it to be like little crumbs of meat. And then this dark meat you see there is 1 pound of ground heart, which is very traditional in Greek chilies. And this Elite Recipe Source, he did 2 videos. The first one was just with ground beef, and then he took an even deeper dive and was like, looking at, and what I'll do is I'll spread the ingredients really thin, the chili or whatever, on a white paper plate so I can kind of see the ingredients, and that's pretty much what he did. And he discovered things in the chili that looked like it was probably ground heart, which again, very traditional Greek. So we're going to add this to a large pot. Now I'm going to tell you, if you're interested in making this, make sure you watch everything because I'm doing his recipe first, and then once I get to the end of what he did, I'm going to build forward with my discoveries, because again, there's a few ingredients that he didn't pick up on. So over the meat here, cold water. We're just going to cover the meat with cold water. And I know the last time I did this in a video, it took a lot of heat, but this is just, they're making a sauce. They're not really making like a Texas chili. And the main priority is to get this meat almost literally dissolved, so the heat is not on. And we're going to just whisk this, because again, we just want it to be little teeny, really small little crumbs of meat in here. And what I did when I made my first batch is I ground the beef together with that beef heart. I don't think it's important. You don't need to do that. And honestly, if you're freaked out by the heart, just use ground beef. All right, so I got it pretty well dissolved in here, emulsified or whatever you want to call it. We get the heat on. Now I'm going to add 9 ounces of tomato paste. And I'm going to give a few of you a heads up right now, especially those of you in Europe. Some of these measurements are crazy the way they're, I mean, it's not like a normal recipe. But if you can imagine this guy, which I've been there, I've done that, sitting at a counter and he's adding ingredients in increments of like 1/4 of a teaspoon. That's why some of these ingredients seem a little very fractionalized. And I know the Europeans get a little annoyed by like me using the imperial measurements. It's just what it is. And I think it would be very difficult, at least for me, to break this down into, metrics right now. So honestly, I cook metric recipes all the time, European measurements, and I have a scale to do that. Measuring spoons are pretty cheap. So if you're in Europe and want to make this chili, go on Amazon and just buy a set of measuring spoons. I mean, a couple bucks. Now what I have here is 2½ teaspoons salt, 1 3/4 teaspoons onion powder, 1 3/8 teaspoon paprika, and 1½ teaspoons garlic powder. See, that 3/8 is one of the things I was talking about. Seems a little wacky, but it makes sense when you're the one, breaking down the ingredients, trying to copy this. I have here 3 teaspoons ground allspice, 1 5/8 teaspoons cinnamon, 1 1/4 teaspoons cloves, 1/2 teaspoon cumin, 1/4 teaspoon chili powder in the center there. So I get asked all the time, what kind of chilies are in the chili powder? Chili powder is actually a seasoning. I'm not really sure what kind of chili it is. It's a red chili, but in this powder is also like garlic and salt. Then 1/8 teaspoon of ground black pepper. So Elite Recipe Source did exactly what I would do if I were recreating this from scratch from the very beginning. And he went on to the ingredient list there. Very prominent in the ingredient list is yeast. So I have here 7 teaspoons of Fleischmann's yeast and 4 teaspoons of Brewer's yeast, or you'll see it as Nutritional yeast. It's actually very healthy for you. So dump that in. Now we're going to start getting this mixed up. We want to get that yeast killed. And the yeast, since we're not browning the meat before cooking, I guess, started off with cold water. That yeast is going to kind of add a lot of umami, a beefy flavor. So now what the instructions are that Elite Recipe Source gave, I don't know what his first name is, was to simmer this for 2 hours, and then after 2 hours, taste and adjust. And that's exactly what I did. And I compared it to a bowl of hot chili that I had bought from Skyline. So I was able to smell and taste. And one thing was very prominent that I know that I didn't add in this, that I know is in the Skyline chili. And that ingredient is right here. I have here 1 tablespoon plus 1 teaspoon of unsweetened cacao or cocoa powder. And I could really smell, that kind of a chocolatey smell coming off of Skyline's chili. So adding that to the mix here. I just added some salt to taste. I added an 8-ounce can of tomato sauce, then 6 more ounces of tomato paste. And I was getting, a really tangy kind of a flavor coming off of Skyline's chili. And that's one of the reasons why I added more tomato paste. But it was more than that. I was also getting like kind of a citric acid kind of a tang, like an acidic citric acid taste. So I added 1 tablespoon of freshly squeezed lemon juice. Seemed very Greek to me. It was still kind of lacking some acid. So I ended up with 2.5 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar. And I didn't pop in 2 tablespoons. I kind of came up to 2.5 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar. Now, one of the catch-alls on ingredients lists is they say with natural flavors. That's their way of saying we're not telling you everything else we're putting in there, just know that it's natural. A lot of times when you see that it's Worcestershire sauce, it needed a little bit more of that kind of umami, kind of savoriness. So I went with 2 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce, get that mixed up. I pumped up some of the ingredients that he had. I have here 1/2 teaspoon of cayenne, 1/4 teaspoon of cumin, and 1 teaspoon of allspice. There's definitely a little heat to the Skyline. It's not burning heat, but you pick up a little heat in the back of the throat. And then what I did was I simmered it for 2 more hours on a very low heat. And I think this is about as close as you're going to get to Skyline chili. And to give you a little idea of where I ended up just appearance-wise, this right here is my chili, and this is the Skyline. So they look very, very close in appearance. And I can tell you what, both of these are very, very good. As far as the copy, I'm in the high 90th percentile, I think, of getting dead on with this. Not 100% there, but I'm extremely, extremely close. And feel free, if you make this and do some tweaks, add the tweaks down below. I think we're ready to cook some dogs now. So we're using that wildfire griddle today. I got medium high here on this side. And this is my improvised bun steamer. And they're not using Nathan's, but I was kind of trying to get it close to the size of a dog they're using. And we're just going to keep them kind of rolling here. These are done. Now the next thing I'm going to do, and this is very important, you need to steam the buns to do this, is we're going to open the bun up so it's like a boat. If that makes any sense. The hot dog, so see how it's more opened on the edges there? So again, like that. All right, let's make a dog now. Let's make a coney. We're gonna dab the mustard on, they use a stick. Then the chili, the hot chili gets ladled in the center. For the regular coney, basically a heaping spoon of chopped onion, and then that's done. But we're going 3 ways, I think, that with the chili with cheese and onion down, and freshly grated cheddar cheese in a nice heaping amount. And I give you the Skyline coney and the Skyline chili with cheese. And I know which one I'm looking forward to eating. Yeah, first of all, that chili sauce smells amazing. Of my hot dogs that I've made, the Copycats, this is way up there. You know, it's funny. We're making hamburgers or even, you know, chili cheese dogs. We always strive to get that cheese melted. But there's something to be said about the contrast of the really hot chili and this really cold, you know, not really cold, but, you know, cold shredded cheese like this. It's not only the flavors, but you're getting that contrast in temperatures, which is really, I like it. It's enjoyable. So overall, I don't think there's anything I would do to change this recipe. I'm looking forward to hearing what some of you folks that are going to try this and maybe have been to Skylines wants to tweak it. I know that based on or compared to the chili pouches that I purchased, which were really good, this stands up to that. And matter of fact, just because it's so fresh, I think it's better than the pouches that I bought. I'd really like to try from the restaurant, see the difference. This is honestly one of my favorite dogs that I've done yet in this hot dog series. Big shout out to Elite Recipe Source for kind of saving me probably several hours, if not a couple days worth of work. With, he did all the heavy lifting. I hope that he starts shooting videos again. I'd like to communicate with him because I would like to get his opinion on my changes here. Again, the big one was that cacao, that cocoa powder. To me, and I know that when you're trying to come up with one of these recipes and you're sitting there, you're so absorbed in all the smells and tastes and everything, it's easy to kind of get overwhelmed and kind of fry your taste buds. I'll, lean on my wife. She has a really good palate. I've mentioned that before. And to get her confirmations or, hey, what is this? And she helps me out a lot with that. And I think, again, I can see this guy sitting at a counter just going deep, but then becoming kind of a little bit fried in the mouth and in the nose so that you miss a few things. But that cocoa, that chocolate smell, I thought was pretty prominent, especially when the chili was heated up. I hope you enjoyed this video. I certainly enjoyed making it. And I'm going to say it again, really looking forward to hearing some feedback from any of you that try this. And maybe if you're from Cincinnati, you can go to Skyline and you've discovered, ingredients that maybe I missed. Let me know down below. Till then, if you're not subscribed, please hit that sub button. Make sure you ring the notification bell. Thumb it up if you like it. Hope you did. I'll see you in the next video. Keep the suggestions coming in. Cheers.